When people see like an esports business model, they often think that merchandise is the best model to profitability. They see a company like 100 Thieves and they say, sell loads of merchandise, hoodies and everything, and you can fund an esports team. Well, the reality for 99% of organizations is that it's less than 1% of their revenue over the whole year, which is crazy when you think about the amount of mental space that goes into making an esports proper, good campaign, stuff that people want to wear, and advertising that for less than 1% of your money that comes through the door. So today we can look at the reasons for doing a merchandise range, the positives for it and the negatives for it, and a real life example of kind of how much it might cost you to make a kind of a campaign for your business, and then looking at how many kind of like items you need to even sell to make that profitable, because most organizations are losing money on it. So what are the benefits? So let's just talk about the benefits of merch so far. So we have two key benefits in my eyes. You have sponsorships. So if we're talking jerseys, we'll put like a jersey thing here, jerseys. This is nothing to do with your lifestyle ranges, such as like hoodies and t-shirts and so on. But jerseys alone, even though kind of sponsorships nowadays are becoming more adaptive, they're becoming more, storytelling and everything like that, I think, and reporting especially, even having like a logo on your jersey still holds a premium in terms of being associated with a winning brand, like an esports team or something. So even if you're losing money on your jerseys, this is still a key thing because you're technically selling that as an asset. So you shouldn't be losing money in that sense. When I say losing money, I mean losing money in terms of selling it to a fan base. And then secondly is fan loyalty. So having something that fans can buy represents you. It's even a kind of like a walking advertisement here. A walking advert of, I've had people stopping me in the street saying, oh, it's really cool that you like Endpoint and so on, because you see me wearing an Endpoint hoodie. And I think it's almost like a walking advertisement to remind people that you're around, especially if it's kind of like a local community brand, which is really cool. So these are really important. If someone buys something once, they're often a fan for life as well. They'll wear it in times you don't realize when you're playing matches, and they'll constantly remember you when they see you if they open their wardrobe, which is a really important thing for that. So these two things are the benefits. The negatives are often the amount of the margins. So we'll look at like the negatives. So often kind of like upfront costs, lack of sales, upfront costs, lack of sales, and the margins. Like the margins are thin. So this is the issues with it. So we've got two kind of places to look at. So we've got print on demand versus kind of holding stock. So print on demand versus holding stock, essentially. Kind of screwed that up, but difference here is this is kind of like one minimum. And every time someone orders something, it prints it straight away and it just ships it straight to them. Nice and easy from an admin standpoint. Holding stock is a nightmare from an admin standpoint, and the kind of the margins are also kind of say you have to order at least like 50 items or something potentially, like minimum. And so you have a higher upfront cost, but your margins are better. So they have positives and negatives. I kind of feel like often you should do like a hybrid model where you maybe kind of like buy whole stock for your jerseys so they're quicker to get out, because often they can take 4 to 6 months or 4 to 6 weeks to come, whereas print on demand you can have for your hoodies and your t-shirts and so on as well. Obviously, if you get into a stage where you're selling loads of stuff, you should always be holding stock. If you're at a smaller organization stage where you're just starting out, you should probably always be print on demand. Okay, so let's look at like a real kind of scenario. If you've got professional teams and you've got staff and you've got influencers and all this kind of side of things, when you do a merch launch, you have to realize that you've basically got to buy them all the stock as well first. And then you also have to buy the stock for the people that might buy it. And then you've also got to do the campaign for the staff and everything. So let's write this down. So we've got, let's do an example here of how a campaign might run. So let's say we've got jerseys. we might have to buy, let's say 200 jerseys here, which sounds like a lot in some ways, but let's say we're buying 100 to sell to the public, and then we've got, so let's say this splits down 100 to sell, 100 to advertise or something. And bear in mind, once you get through these 100, you can keep replenishing your stock. Let's say it drops down to 40, 30, 40, just buy more. But you don't necessarily have to buy 1,000 at once to, and then hope that it sells. You can buy smaller amounts and so on. But if we were to buy the jerseys up front, this would be like a starting point potentially. And then you'd have hoodies would be kind of like on demand, that's fine. So hoodies and t-shirts, so on. They might be kind of just like, let's do this hybrid model. Yeah, hybrid here. This would be kind of print on demand. So that's no upfront cost, it's just kind of time spent. And then you've got, we've got staff time, so socials, graphics, video content. All of this is kind of staff time as well. So we'll put staff time here. You've got to obviously set up a Shopify, you've got to do all that kind of side of things. There's a lot of mental space that goes into actually selling a campaign. You've got to get all your professional players to advertise it, you've got to get influencers to advertise it and everything. But let's look at costs here. So we've got 200 jerseys. They might cost you around, say, £20 each or something as an average. So that could be £4,000. So that's £4,000 to buy that stock. Print on demand's free, but it's just time for setting up. You need to set all that up. Staff time to run a campaign. So if we assume like a photo shoot, we assume graphics putting together, we assume everything like that, I'd probably assign that to, say, a salary for a month for someone to set up a campaign, which you could have anywhere between £2,000 to £4,000. But let's say staff time here could cost you £3,000, I think, to set this all up. So if we just add these together, we say this campaign is going to cost us £7,000 to set up, okay? So that's for like a new merch range, a set of jerseys, everything like that could cost you £7,000. And from this, we've got 100 jerseys to sell, and we've got print on demand all set up. So if we look at margins for this, so let's say margins for, we say margins here. Okay, so margins here, let's say they cost us £20 each per item, and let's say we want to sell a jersey for £50. We've actually always tried to keep it to £45 to make sure like the fans can buy it, but actually, if you look at the pro teams, they're more like £60, £70. So somewhere in the middle, £50 to £60. Let's say you can make £30 per jersey, and you want to do a reasonable price. So £30 profit for jerseys. Yeah, there we go. And then for like hoodies, t-shirts, and everything like that. So let's call it hoodie. Just say hoodies. These often cost about £20 to £25 to make. T-shirts could be about £10 to £15. Like more premium stuff we're talking. So if you say you sell a hoodie for £50 as well, whereas realistically they need to be 60 or 70, but let's say 50, and it costs you probably £30, including shipping and all this stuff. Let's say there's a £20 profit margin there. And then on t-shirts, you might have a £10 profit margin or something. So let's say a blended kind of like £15 profit per item. So let's say we managed to sell 100 jerseys here. Let's say we actually sold out of the first batch, and we sold 100 people. Could you imagine an esports organization and you think that you can actually get 100 people to buy your jersey straight there and then? It might happen over a long period, but do you think that you could do it on launch? So from a cash flow perspective, not sure. But 100 times £30 is £3,000. So that's £3,000. And 15, let's say hoodies wise, let's say we managed to sell another 100 items of merchandise there. That would be £1,500. So in this example, we've sold 200 items. 200 items sold, and we've got £4,500 profit. Okay, from that. But then we take the £7,000 it cost us. So we say minus 7,000 equals net loss of 2,500. And this is why majority, I don't know if I can fit that in there, I don't know if it's on the camera, but This is why the majority of esports organizations lose money with merchandise, because majority can't sell 200. But then I'd recommend you don't go for this model. But at the same time, a lot of people do that thinking they can, and then it ends up not working out. So for us to actually make a profit here, we have to have actually bought more of this and sold and gone, and we probably have to end up selling about 500 items to actually make a profit. So could you sell 500 items to your fans? And if you can, it's worth doing merchandise to purely make money from the fan base and actually try and start, funding some stuff. Although, again, even at that point, you're making very small amounts of money to try and fund. If you watch my previous videos on how much it costs to run an esports organization, it doesn't really make sense still. But then we go back to the benefits of sponsorships and fan loyalty. And this one specifically is why I would always do jerseys anyway. Even if you're making a 2.5K loss, the jerseys are so important because you could technically sell tens, hundreds of thousands worth of sponsorships and this be a part of that. It doesn't mean it's all of it, but it's a part of it. So I hope that gives you an idea of merchandise and esports. And actually, it's a good thing to do, especially if you're trying to build a brand, but don't expect to buy a house off it. If you like these videos, we're doing an Esports Masterclass. They're free videos on all sorts of aspects of the esports industry. Just drop us a subscription and see you in the next one.